Alright guys, Kremp again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. CDL Miami officially begins tomorrow. The teams are out there in Fort Lauderdale getting ready to go for the event. Kenny getting absolutely roasted by his boys last night at the OpTic team dinner. They're the #1 team for the event. Vibes are out of control. Is that going to translate into an event victory for the first time since Major 1 2022, which feels an awful long time ago? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. I guess speaking of that Major 1 event a couple of years ago, iLLeY was on the OpTic team at the time. Just one other thing just to mention on this that I know some of you guys were pointing out yesterday. This is a tweet that iLLeY did. It's now been deleted, actually, which is kind of interesting to be fair. But iLLeY did actually tweet something, so good that he's seemingly doing okay, I guess. But he does have Luminosity still as his, tag, right? So, Luminosity, they own Surge, or, whatever the ownership group is over there. That's, I think it's Enthusiast Gaming, is it? They own Luminosity, they own Surge, this type of stuff. So, he's still got, on his Twitter accounts, that relationship, which is giving him the blue tick. And he's still Surge iLLeY. So, I guess that puts to bed a little bit some theories that maybe iLLeY was dropped, because it doesn't seem like he's dropped, right? Because if he's still got Surge in his name and he's still tied to Luminosity, still seems like he's on the organization, so I guess he's benched technically. Obviously people are saying, look, get rid of Wake, put iLLeY in, that could do a fair bit of damage to the Minnesota Rocker. I think there's other teams that would consider it as well, but of course he's still on Surge it seems right now, so that maybe paints a bit of a picture. One very frustrating announcement yesterday, and I'm kind of mind blown we didn't hear anything about this before the major itself was just about to begin, but as Study and iHoldShift say yesterday, safe travels to everyone traveling to Major 2 today. Unfortunately for me, the first time that I don't have to get my suitcase packed in a long time. Don't even remember the last event that I didn't attend. So, and obviously we've got Miles here in the replies. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? And yeah, iHoldShift and Study as a duo, who I think have been really, really good. I know that Study was criticised a fair bit when he first became a caster, but I feel like as he's had more time to develop, he's become, because Study's a hilarious guy. This guy is comedy, and I think you're starting to see a bit more of that personality shine in his casting work, and I think he's just getting better and better, and Shift is just sensational, right? Everybody knows this, and I think they've done a stellar job since they've been a pairing this season, but they're not going to be Major 2. They were there at Major 1. Every casting pair was there. They'll be casting challenges remotely on the rest of the weekends, but they're only going to be running, it seems, 2 caster pairs, which is can we just end this league? You know what I mean? Can we just get it over with at this point? It's just, this to me is really frustrating. I'm not going to be at the event either. I'm going to be in Toronto for sure. I got that all booked up yesterday. Miami was a bit complicated to get it organised to do what we wanted to do in the venue. Toronto will be better on that front. Because we've been there last year, we know what's going on. So yeah, I'll see a lot of you guys in Toronto, I'm sure of it, as I did last year. And hopefully, they got all the caster pairings back then. Maybe you can argue, do they need 3 caster pairings? They're going to have Maven and Merc, they're going to have Miles and Chance. And, they aren't consecutive games on multiple streams, right? Or games that go on simultaneously. So maybe it's okay, but I still think it's a bit of a heavy lift, right? For 2 caster pairings to carry the entire weekends. And even during Boston, there was lots of talk about, the budget cuts, and they were cutting certain staff members on the production side of things. They were trying to scale things back. And now, as Jake Hale understands, yeah, they're going to run 2 caster pairings, not 3 for the event. So probably not the only time they're going to do this. Can only presume it's a budgeting thing, which is, I don't know, just especially when you're owned by multi-billion-dollar companies, it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth, especially because I think how good these guys are. So frustrating to me. Hopefully that will change the events going forwards. But look, the teams are out there now. His fellow and the boys, I'm guessing at a nice little Airbnb setup here the Carolina Ravens guys have for what may just be one losers bracket game. Obviously TJ Halley said the other day, here we go, back to another single elimination event, because they're starting in losers. They play the loser of OpTic and Miami, I'm pretty sure. So, hopefully it's Heretics for their sake, because if they play OpTic, I don't see that going especially well. But to be fair, they did knock the New York Subliners out of last event. Let's not forget, they knocked them out in top 12. Clay got very hyped as a result. So maybe we're going to have a similar story here, because if they were to knock out the home team in Miami, that would be quite the story. I just do wonder how much home support they're going to have, right? Because, sure, Miami are the home team. They're hosting the event, but it's not in Madrid, you know what I mean? They're a Spanish team, and yes, there's a big Spanish contingent, Spanish-speaking contingent in Florida, but it's not quite the same as it would be if it was actually in Spain, So, and they play OpTic first round. I'm a bit concerned that Miami are going to walk out on stage and get booed at their home major by the OpTic fans that are there. I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow on this one. But yeah, TJ and his love for certain cookies, he's going to be in for a hard time, it seems, to resist here in Miami. But there's been lots of content coming out about this. I always love the travel day, just seeing like the videos and the clips that come out as a result of it. Here's Shotzzy, of course, going into the terminal plane. This picture's funny to me because it just looks like there's nothing going on behind his eyes, you know what I mean? Like he's just staring blankly into space. But then once the flight landed, they tweeted this out, landed in Miami, gave Kenny the camera, how did he do? And this is just like such a funny picture that just sums up like what this OpTic team is about. Like it just shows their personalities, you know. Like Pred kind of looks like a bit of a big brother here to Shotzzy, who's looking after him on his travels, and then Dashy's just asleep. I don't know if this is just for the cameras or whether he was actually, because look, we know Dashy's sleep schedule possibly isn't the best. I imagine that he rolled out of bed here for this flight on a couple of hours of sleep and was probably struggling a little bit to get through it. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. It just sums up everything about these guys' personalities in some way. And the vibes on this team are probably the best. I mean, the OpTic team is always vibey, right? Nobody denies that. But if you listen to their podcast and their content and like everything around that, they've got that in spades this year. There's no doubt. And I just look at the team. I'm like, I can't see why or where they would change going forwards, but like they're gonna need to deliver results if they want that to not be the case. Now they ended up getting top 3 right at last major, which was, all things considered, given the fact that they went into Major 1 a bit under practice compared to some of the other teams, that to be fair was their own fault. But, you know, I think all things considered, they would take a top 3 at last event. FaZe were a bit better, certainly than OpTic. Toronto were just on an entirely new level. But this event, OpTic is the number 1 seed. They've got to make the finals, I think, really, to show they've made progress. And arguably, they really want to take the victory here. It's wide open for a victory. FaZe are looking a bit vulnerable in their search and destroys. New York Subliners, are they onliners? That's a question. We'll discuss that in some depth later today. And Toronto in search and destroy as well, are not looking like the same team they were previously. Yes, OpTic have scraped through a load of the series they won over the last couple of weeks, and they've been given some of their favourable maps. But if they actually are good at Invasion Search and Rio Search, and if they can maybe turn around their Terminal Search a little bit, it is definitely possible that it's their tournament to win. So a couple of clips to share here, and well, here they are. The team did it yesterday, so this is pretty funny. The Kenny clip especially here is absolutely comedy, and I'll just have to share it, right, because Pred and Dashy are having a great time watching all this unfold.
Yeah, the schedule is screwed up with that. Like, we've played 3 matches. Some teams have played 4, and FaZe have played 2. But it's because of how the schedule works. Like, we only have 1 match next week. And having 1 match in a weekend is so annoying because it's like, dude, we're scrimming all this time. We're doing all this prep, all this whatever. And just to play 1 match, 1 best of 5 on the weekend. Dude, Challengers gets elites. We have no online tournaments. We're literally playing 1 best of 5. And that's our only match rep for any type of real life, or I wouldn't say real life, but like real opportunity to get a real rep. And we get 1 every 2 weeks. Or every week and a half or whatever the fuck it is.
So as Kenny says here, right, he was literally getting spawn trapped by this guy. Dashy follows up and says he was getting spawn killed. I just thought the reaction of Pred and Dashy to this is just absolutely fantastic. The other clip that I did want to share there and just discuss in a little bit of detail is this whole CDL schedule thing, especially this year. I think for 2 of the major cycles, there are 4 weekends of matches, and on the other couple of major cycles, there are 5 weekends. We've just gone through one of the 5 weekend stints, which means that on 3 of those 5 weekends, the teams are playing 1 game. Toronto also discussed this in their podcast they put out yesterday as well, that just the frustrations of playing 1 game on a weekend, especially if it's the final match of the weekend, because the other days, you play a few maps just to warm up other teams. You can't really get proper practice in on the Friday, Saturday. You're not even playing yourself. And then it's final match Sunday, you play the last game of the weekends. It's just not great scenario, not great practice. The teams don't like it. Feels like it wastes a lot of their weekends. And we've talked about this before, that if you're going to do 7 league matches, maybe there's an argument that you should just try and push it up to 11 and just play everyone in a single round robin, and then you wouldn't get any of these schedule BS either, where some teams get an easy schedule, some teams get a hard schedule, and that then determines whether they get to winners or losers or not in some sense. And that, of course, puts them in arguably a much better position to get some points to the major for their World Championship qualification. So there's lots of issues with the format. JP obviously isn't happy about it. Nobody especially likes it. And it worked out well for Vegas right this time. Gio actually got our weekend MVP on Vegas. A 1.22.5 points he had this weekend, 1.18 in search, 1.5 in control that he had this past weekend in week 5. I do just think as well on Gio, like, he is pretty much the perfect rookie to sign to a team. And I don't know whether we're overestimating how well Vegas are going to do this event based on the fact that they had a very easy schedule compared to their competition. But there's no doubt that since Gio's come in, he has turned around the tide of this team. Yes, Purge, since he's been on the SMG, has done a great job as well. Don't want to take anything away from him, but Gio individually has been very impressive from a statistical side, from like an energy side, from even just being like a humble player. Like, I think some rookies come in, they get gassed up because they're potential rookie of the year candidates or whatever, and then, well, let's say Gwyn, for example. I think Gwyn's very good, but he's made those tweets over the last couple of weeks about effectively, like, I'm the best player in the lobby type thing, and it's fine to have that confidence, but I think Theory's point was, as coach of Vegas, hey, how about you achieve something first before you come talking all this trash to your opposition. Gio, on the other hand, seems like a really, like, humble player that's looking to improve and level up all the time. He's been talking about how, watching Scrappy's VOD and these other things, just trying to get better, a real student of the game. So I think if there's any personality meshed with skill that has really impressed me in the league so far this year, Gio is probably that guy, and he is very much in the ballpark of the Rookie of the Year conversation. Yes, Gwyn is up there. Yes, Lind is up there. But those two respective teams, they've fallen off. Ravens are bottom of the league right now. Minnesota Rocket, yes, they're still 5th, but I don't expect that to be the case after this major concludes. And even Lind's individual performances haven't quite been as good over the last few weeks or so. Whereas Gio, he's turned it around. He's stepping up big time, and Vegas are actually delivering results. Vegas, you look at their brackets, you've got to be looking at a top 6 placing. They play Surge if they were to lose to Toronto. They can possibly beat Toronto as well. It's not likely, but I think they can beat Toronto. It's not out of the realms of possibility, potentially, although it would be a tall order. And if they lose that one, then they play Surge. And if they win that, they play either Ravens, Miami, or OpTic. And it's probably not going to be OpTic, as they should be in winners. So they'll possibly play Miami. Those 2 wins against Surge and Miami to get yourself to top 6. At which point they would either play, I think, FaZe or New York, of course, at which point the bracket could be very different, but on paper, that's what you might expect. That, Vegas with a top 6 finish, they'd be standing in pretty good stead for sure going forwards. So, and Gio would be solidifying himself as one of the real candidates. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. This is a funny video as well that the CDL put out. The same story they've done over the last few weeks with asking the players certain things, and they get asked the question, who's the most athletic CDL pro? They give a few answers. Scrappy says maybe Vikul, and Dashy isn't really sure, so he basically says himself, and yeah, Breaker Boy kind of violated him in the replies with this video here from a little while ago. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
No, the nade shot effect is not ruining me. It's making me fucking stronger. They're saying that someone just said the nade shot is ruining me. Matt, what do you think about that?
I think sometimes you need to get dumber to get smarter.
That might be the smartest thing you've ever said in your life.
See? The proof is in the pudding.
Might be the smartest shit I've ever heard.
And the pudding was in my toilet this morning 6-7 times.
Yeah, I'm putting this absolute niner in that fucking.
Oh, what the fuck? Are you gonna fuck my shit? Is that what you just said?
Here he comes.
Oh.